Brofessor Clev here. This is the short version on how to build the fastest battle brother, aka the Fast Nimble Forged Generalist build. So this build is focuses on being faster than enemies in the turn order by having high initiative. With high initiative, it means that we get to hit the enemy before they hit us. If we're doing that, we're taking less damage. If we're taking less damage, we're spending less crowns in repairing armors and replacing brothers that may fall in combat. Okay, so why is this build good? It works in expert Ironman runs because I've tested this build so much to fine tune it to the point where that by the time you guys use it in your own playthroughs, this guy is just basically guaranteed to perform against pretty much any enemy on any terrain. Okay, this build has low stat requirements. You can consistently force it on any brother because you won't always have premium brothers to work with. You know, because that's just the way the game is. Okay, maybe they're too expensive. Maybe the talent pool is quite poor in the region that you are on the map. Okay, this brother is also really cheap to equip and maintain because he'll be using medium gear. It won't require that many repair tools to repair. You can easily source a lot of this gear through the armory, or you can actually build this build using the stuff that you find from raiders, mercenaries, and pretty much noble armies. So it's actually really cheap to maintain because you won't always have like an infinite amount of crowns to work with. So this build is actually quite good on the budget. It's very cost effective, I would say. This build in terms of combat effectiveness is actually really good from early to late game. So you can start building this guy on day one, and he'll carry you through your first late game crisis, and you can also use him in any legendary location fight as well. The only disadvantage of this build is that because it's a generalist, you'll never be good at, compared to a specialist at doing what a specialist does. For example, this brother will never be as good as a dedicated tank brother in tanking. It will never be good at as a bannerman brother in bannering, you know, and raising morale. Okay. So you do get some tactical advantages from using the Fast Nimble Forged build. Basically, you'll be able to seize strong positions early in the turn order. Because you're so fast, if you see a nice high ground tile in the distance that you want to take, you can move there and claim that position for your brother, for your team, before the enemy can even move there and take it for themselves. So you can always be fighting with high ground advantage, always be fighting with river defense, whatever. Because you're super fast, you get to choose where you fight on the battlefield, which is a huge tactical advantage. Your brother will also deal high burst damage. And what that means is because you're super fast, you can wait for the enemies to advance on you, then you step up, you hit them once with your like two-hander or whatever, you end turn, and because your brother is so fast, you get to hit the enemy a second time before the enemy can even hit back. So what ends up happening is that often, depending on the enemies that you face, you'll be able to wipe out maybe a third or even a 1/4 or a third of the opposing force before they can even start dealing damage back at you, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay. Third point is that you can surround dangerous enemies such as swordmasters or blade dancers because you're super fast. So you can net them, you can walk up to them, you can end your turn, and then because you have higher initiative than the enemy, you'll be able to smack them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times before they can even hit back, which is really important because if you surround the dangerous enemies and take them out before they can hit you, your brothers have a high chance of surviving. Okay. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned really good against enemy champions as well. All right, fourth point. Because we're super fast, we recover from statuses faster, such as like dazed or stunned or staggered. If we're earlier in the turn order, those negative debuffs wear off before the enemy can capitalize on them. You know, if we get minus 50% melee defense for whatever reason, if that wears off before the enemy can even hit us, then it basically was never there, right? And the final point is we can always retreat safely. So if we're playing like expert Ironman, for example, when we get caught out in a very unfavorable fight against like maybe our company is like really low level, a noble house of like 20 enemies, including knights and sergeants, attacks us, we can always just hit the flee button and we can retreat because we're faster than the enemy. They won't be able to catch up to us. We can safely retreat. And on the tactical and strategic level, that's actually super important because our campaign will just never end because we get caught in the bad fight, right? We can always retreat. So this build is always good. Okay, so let's get on to building the actual build itself. So if we just look at the perks here, we obviously want Colossus because more health is always good. The more health we have, the longer our brother can stay in the fight. The higher health pool that we have, the higher damage threshold that has to be reached for us to take injuries. Okay, so Colossus always a good thing. That will help us survive. In terms of other survivability perks, we have Dodge and Relentless. So Dodge basically means for our initiative, depending on our initiative, we get plus 15% to our melee defense and range defense, which is absolutely fantastic because we're going for a fast build. We're going to have super high initiative, and that just pairs really nicely with the Dodge perk. Relentless pairs well with Dodge because it always keeps our initiative high. So our Dodge, the extra defense that we get from for Dodge will always be high. Okay. The second part of Relentless is that we can always use the wait command without any penalty to initiative. So we can always wait to see where the enemy moves first before we commit our own brothers into the fight. So that opens up like a really it opens up many possibilities for combat, many tactical options during combat. So that's really fantastic. Okay. Underdog helps us basically think of it by taking underdog, the enemy has a less chance to hit us, even if we're surrounded. So underdog basically gives us sort of like bonus melee defense, right? That's always good. And we have the overwhelm perk to round out all of our defensive perks. If we get to hit the enemy before they hit us, regardless of, or if we attack the enemy before they attack us, regardless of if we hit or miss, we inflict overwhelm on them. So overwhelm reduces their attack chance, their hit chance by 10%, which is absolutely fantastic. And we take this over something like Gifted because sometimes we need to stack Overwhelm on really dangerous enemies, such as enemy champions like Orc Warlords, Blade Dancers, Sword Masters, Assassins, Officers, Executioners, whatever. If we can overwhelm them, they have a less chance of hitting our brothers. So that's always a good thing. Overwhelm is really good to have. And because we're like really fast because of Relentless, we're pretty much always guaranteed to overwhelm whatever we're attacking. Okay. Actually, we have more defensive perks. I forgot to talk about Nibble and Battleforge. We'll be wearing medium armor. So Nibble means that we take less damage to our hit points, and Battleforge means we take less damage to our armor. In particular, with this setup that I will talk about later, we take 32% less damage to our hit points, which gives us more effective HP to work with, and we take 17% less damage to our armor, which means our armor lasts a lot longer. Okay. What did I say? Because we have Nimble and Battleforge, we're actually really flexible. We don't actually have to always use medium armor. If we need more initiative, we need more stamina, we can always use lighter armor. If we're going up against really strong enemies that have lots of staying power, such as like Ancient Undead in the Black Monolith fight, we can always put on Battleforge armor, like heavier armor, like 40 durability, 40 fatigue armor, you know? So we can always put on whatever armor that we need. So this build's actually really flexible. In terms of damage perks, we only really have Killing Frenzy. So if we're killing kills, we're dealing more damage. More damage is always a good thing, right? So that's good. Backstabber increases our hit chance. If as long as we're surrounding the enemy. So Backstabber, more hit chance is always good, right? So Backstabber is a good perk. And our particular build order for selecting all the perks is that we go from level 1, nothing. Level 2, we grab Colossus. Then we grab Dodge, into Relentless, into Backstabber, Underdog, Nimble, Overwhelm, Healing Frenzy, Pathfinder, and Battleforge to round out all of our perks. I just forgot to talk about Pathfinder. Pathfinder just means that we can move across the map more freely, and we can seize high ground, or we can seize key positions without losing too much fatigue. Or we can always basically move to where we need to with the Pathfinder perk, so that's really good. Onto our final gear. We're gonna want to have the Salet. It's a really easy to find helmet that you can find in the armories. It gives you a good amount of head protection for only 5 fatigue. So that's really good to have. And for our medium chest piece, we want the Southern Longmail shirts. We can easily find this in southern armories as well. If you don't have the Southern Longmail shirt, it's fine. We can always get the reinforced mail hallberg. We can find this off dead enemies quite often, so that works as well. And for our helmet, if we want something free, we can always equip a Zweihander's helmet that we get from any Zweihanders. That's also really good as well. In terms of stuff that we want in our deployable slot, we can always have like Hexen Trophy Necklace to increase our resolve. If not, then we can get some War Dogs to help deploy to give us extra surround bonus from Backstabber and help us, distract enemies and whatnot. In terms of weapons, we do want to end up with the two-handed flange mace because this is a fantastic weapon. It deals extra damage to enemies' fatigue. What that means is if the enemy basically means the enemy gasses out faster. If the enemy doesn't have fatigue to work with, they'll hit us less. If they have the dodge perk as well, they take extra pretty much damage to the initiative so that they have less dodge. If we do land a hit with the flange mace as well, we inflict the daze status effect, which means that they deal enemy will deal 25% less damage. They have 25% less initiative, and something else I don't remember. But it's really good because that debuff, the daze debuff, stacks really well with overwhelm. Stacks really well with nimble as well. So we're taking. There's less chance for the enemy to hit us. If they do hit us, we're taking less damage because of nimble. We're taking less damage because of Battleforged, combined with the the daze status effect. Okay, in terms of stats, basically at the end of this build, we're gonna want to have around 80 health if possible. Obviously, more is better, but you don't always have the stats to go around. As long as you have 88 max fatigue, we don't actually need to invest any points into to fatigue, but 88 is actually really important because with 88, if we take a debilitating injury such as a pierced lung, we still have 17 fatigue to work with. So our brother will always be able to hit the enemy with 17 fatigue, so that's always good. Resolve 40 resolve is quite low, but if we have a Hexen Trophy necklace, and if we're going into the Southern Arena for what's it called? To gain extra resolve in the Southern Arena, we can get to around 50 to 55 resolve, which is pretty good. In terms of initiative, 148 is the magic number because after we put on all of our gear, we're gonna have 101 initiative. I forgot to also mention that there are additional requirements to have the Hyena Fur Mantle. So with the Hyena Fur Mantle, once we equip this to our armor, we get plus 15 durability and we got plus 15 initiative. So actually, after all of our gear is equipped, we'll have 116 initiative. 116 initiative is just enough to outspeed pretty much like 90% of the enemies. Notably, we're outspeeding enemy sergeants, enemies Y-handers, sword masters, barbarian chosen. It's pretty good having that amount of initiative. Obviously, if our brother has like more stars in initiative, if you have like 2 stars in initiative, you end up with 158 initiative. That means we're outspeeding blade dancers. If we get to 3 stars, we'll have 163 initiative, and we'll be able to outspeed goblins, melee goblins. But that's not necessary. 148 is the sweet spot in my opinion to have for initiative. In terms of melee attack, I mean, if we don't have any melee stars, we'll end up at around 75. But obviously, more is more than less. So we're always trying to get more melee attack if possible. Melee defense will get around 18 to 20 by level 11. If you can get more, fantastic. Okay. So at a bare minimum, we're looking to get around all of these stats. Okay. We're focusing on pumping melee attack, melee defense, if possible. If you get a low roll on these stats, for example, if you roll like a 1 or a 3, when investing stats, we'll pump health instead. Try and get to 80. To try and get to 80 health. Okay, so with that out of the way, we just look at a couple of examples of our of brothers I had in a previous run. For example, Musa. Musa was a non-combat background, but he ended up with some pretty decent stats. Hakon as well. He was a lowborn that I got for really cheaply. He ended up with pretty decent stats as well. Bram was one of the starting brothers. Really happy with the way he turned out as well. Roderick is actually supposed to be built like Musa, Hakon, and Bram, but if you just chuck a shield onto your brother and give him like a spear, he can often become an off tank. You know, this guy has 40 melee defense at base, plus 20 from the shield, 60 melee defense. If we're taking into account dodge as well, he gets an extra plus 18, so he gets like 68 melee defense, and he's not even a dedicated tank. If he has the confidence buff as well, plus 10% melee defense, he'll end up with, I think, around 85 melee defense. That is not bad for a brother that's not built as a tank, you know? So you can always give your brother a shield and spear in a pinch to become an off tank, okay? And Ube, just a highborn I hired early on in the game, turned out to be fantastic with 100 melee skill and over 140 initiative. So this guy's actually a beast. He's an absolute beast. He outspeeds pretty much even like goblin archers, ranged goblins. So this guy's actually fantastic. Okay. One thing I would like to talk about before we wrap up this video is that because even though our brother is really fast, just a reminder, we don't outspeed everything, but it doesn't really matter. Like most of these enemies are just pushovers, such as like all of these beasts and the Goblin Wolf Rider are pretty much a pushover. What's it called? The Barbarian Chosen, or any Barbarian that uses Adrenaline will always outspeed us, same as Blade Dancers, but honestly, they don't deal that high enough damage to be an issue because we're wearing medium armor. So cleavers aren't that big of an issue. The axe, if it connects to us, will be an issue, but because we have such high dodge such high melee defense from dodge, we can often mostly just dodge most attacks from Chosen, and if they do connect, we take less damage to our health, we take less damage to our armor because of Nimble and Battle Forged. So the only issue is that if we go up against a Chosen champion with a named axe, that might be an issue if it connects to us, but that's really a low probability. Okay. Blade Dancers have 125 initiative, but if they move around a bit, they build up fatigue. Because they don't have Relentless, by turn 2 or turn 3 in combat, we will actually outpace these guys. And we can also just chuck a net on top of them to reduce their initiative by half. We can move in, surround them, hit them, overwhelm them, kill them before they can act against us. So Blade Dance is actually not that much of an issue, to be honest. Master Archers, melee goblins, and ranged goblins have 130 to like 140 initiative, but honestly, you just walk up to them, hit them, and it's over. They have really low health, so they're pretty much non-issues. Okay, so with that all said and done, I hope you guys really enjoyed this build video. If it helped you, please consider giving a like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, do leave them below. I'll try my best to answer or anything that you guys have to say. Yeah, that's it. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.